here is continue to have that discussion, continue to work with the administrators and see where it goes.
Thank you, Alex.
I agree basically with what Alex said because we've had multiple conversations about it with executive council. I also do not have a stance on Greek life. I believe that it should be what students want, but I also believe that we need to be in contact with people that have graduated from Fairfield that see whether or not the Fairfield experience would have been more positive or negative with or without Greek life, whatever. I think that we need to have these alumni talk with these freshmen and tell them what was so about Greek life and whether or not they thought that it was positive or negative. And I think that this will really help out the Greek life issue. And I also think that the way that you find your niche here is through like sports teams or clubs and organizations. And so I think that just getting freshmen more involved in what they're doing and making them feel like they're a part of the community here could also help them.
I share a similar stance with both Alex and Lindsay on this. I think it's got to be what the students want. And it seems like the majority opinion when the Mirror did a survey was that students did not want Greek life. Now, people who have talked very candidly about Greek life, they always mention the camaraderie between the brothers and the sisters and the bigs and the littles. Now, that's something that we can get behind. I think by creating a mentoring program where freshmen can come in, they can feel included, they can feel like they're a part of something special. I think that's very important. But in terms of Greek life, I don't want to commit to it. I'm not saying I'm against it or for it, but one thing I can say is that the mentoring aspect of it, that is something we can bring to Fairfield.
All right, let's have a hand for our candidates so far. So now we're going to move into the second section of the debate, which is cross-examination. Each candidate will have the choice to ask both of their fellow candidates a question. The person who's being asked directly, same drill, gets 3 minutes, and your rebuttal is to get 1 minute. Oh, and we'll pick who asked first. 1 second.
So I'll start with Lindsay. So as president, as I mentioned earlier, you're considered a top student advocate. Although you have a great deal of knowledge and expertise in programming, do you think you have enough experience to be the top student advocate in order to pursue initiatives on behalf of the student body?
I absolutely believe that I have enough experience. I've sat on the Constitutional Convention this past semester and last semester working to improve FUSA. I know the ins and outs of the organization, but I'm also not afraid to speak up, and I think that this is something that Alex, you definitely know, because anytime that we've had an issue, in a programming sense, I've been meeting with administrators. Like, for example, right now we've been talking about late night programming. I'm not afraid to speak out. I think I can absolutely advocate for the students. I love hearing different people's opinions and communicating with them. I'm a communication major, so I think that I would be a great advocate for the students.
No rebuttal.
Mariano, online we posted that you want FUSA to be revenue generating. I'm just curious as to how you're planning on doing this, since we already get money from the student activities fee, and I don't understand if you would charge people more or what your stance is on that.
Absolutely, and what I meant by that was just pursuing opportunities where we can make money, perhaps I know that they have the chef shirt sales, continuing to do stuff like that. One of the things, when I spoke with Elisa Carroll in BCC 212, one of the things she talks about is that they're constantly trying to find ways to utilize rooms throughout campus so they can make money, when summer, for instance, when they have basketball camps during the summer, they charge campers a fee. And so that's bringing in money for the university. So now FUSA can find ways to do that as well. Not only can we increase our budget, but funding no longer becomes a problem, because funding shouldn't be a problem. Why should funding be a problem? Oh, we can't update the Replex, because we don't have any funding. Well, Let's find funding. Let's find ways to do it. We need to be more resourceful than that. We can't just say, this is how it is, and this is how it's going to be. We will find a way. We will be resourceful. My question is for Alex. Now, Alex, I know you're captain of the rugby team, correct? And Anif is vice president, correct? And so, my question to you is, if elected FUSA president, I plan to relinquish both of my roles in Stags Get Back and in the Proactive Investment Club. Now, I'm just trying to wonder, because I've spoken to Tom Pellegrino, I've spoken to Hutch Williams, I've spoken to Lisa Carroll. The FUSA presidency is a full-time job. And you're willing to not only commit to that, but to commit to being a huge player and a huge advocate of the rugby team. Now that's a huge commitment. And there have been past FUSA presidents who've been unable to do that. Charles Knights, do you remember him? Freshman year. He came in and he tried to be on the rugby team, grant you, he wasn't even captain. He tried to do extracurriculars, and he wasn't able to do it. I mean, Charles Knights was a very involved individual, and the Mirror even highlighted him. So my question is to you, how do you propose to advance Fairfield into the future when you can't even commit fully to the FUSA presidency?
It's funny you say that. 3 weeks ago I resigned as the president of the Fairfield Rugby Club, and I also informed my internship that I will not be returning next year, so I'll have no other commitments besides FUSA next year.
With no rebuttal.
Next question.
On a lighter note, Mariana, you mentioned you were involved in Stags Give Back as well as Phonathon, in both leadership roles in both organizations. I was wondering if you just explain your responsibilities in those leadership positions and how those would qualify you to be the president of the largest organization on campus.
Absolutely, and part of what we do at Stags Get Back is giving back to the community, and as I mentioned, that is something I want to do. Through the mentoring program, we will be able to give back to the community. At Stags Get Back, I was frequently recruiting members as well as the Proactive Investment Club. I helped the Green Fund become the senior class gift. In addition to this, at the Student Phonathon, I personally raised $33,000 for the school. So I know how to raise funds, and I will raise funds. And I understand that FUSA is the largest organization, but I have a proven record at Stags Get Back, at the Proactive Investment Club, Student Phonathon, as well as the 3 internships I've had, at being successful, inspiring others, and trying to create a community.
Where'd that money go?
I would just like to say one thing about this whole idea about revenue generating and about getting back about that is that FUSA has a huge budget that comes from the activities fee. We do charge for certain things, and students, we don't want to charge you for everything. When you're already paying for the student activities fee, every single person pays the activities fee. We want to make the most out of that, so charging even more money, charging students even more money than what we're already charging just seems absolutely ridiculous to me.
This is actually for all three of you guys, because you mentioned the way that FUSA is getting revenue. How would you change the way that FUSA is run, the internal system? How would you change it? For both, for all. Yes.
Okay, my turn to ask a question. Okay. All right, so this is for Alex. Other than your claim to fixing the marketing board this year, what else have you personally done for FUSA?
As I said earlier, I don't view any accomplishment as being personal, but the SWAT as a whole this year with the help of Kaylee Brunel has been completely rebuilt. It was non-existent my sophomore year, so that's where I got some of my programming experience. It's given me a little sense as to how programming works as a whole, and I had not had knowledge of programming prior to that. So that's been a great help for me as well. And in my role description this year, which was very, very broad and vague, I have to help Alex in any aspect that he needs, whether it be pursuing an initiative or just going to a meeting, picking up a lot of the responsibilities that people don't normally see. That was my main role, and it was frustrating for me in a way because I'd been so initiative-based in the past and am used to seeing tangible results. So looking at after the Constitutional Convention that you were also a part of, I think we did a great job in redefining that role and helping it have more results and have more results as a whole with the president as well. So.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question? I have no rebuttal. Yeah. So my second question is for both of you guys. As I mentioned before, it was a very unproductive semester in terms of legislation that was passed. Being that you're on executive council and you are the vice president, how would you explain your lack of productivity for the semester?
What we did, we had some issues within Senate as a whole. Our chair of Senate recently resigned, and we had been unaware of the kind of lack of energy and enthusiasm that had been going on within Senate. It had been, again, it's frustrating for me after being with a part of Senate for so long that resolutions weren't being passed and there were not senators pursuing things as actively as they should. We do have a very talented group of senators, a very passionate group of senators that do need to be inspired, and I believe that I can definitely do that going into next year.
And also adding on to what Alex said, just because 2 pieces of legislation were passed doesn't mean that they're not working to pass other things, and it doesn't mean that FUSA is not doing anything. There's other parts of FUSA that are also doing things. We have events at least 2 to 3 times a week. That doesn't mean that FUSA is just not being productive. There's other things that we are being productive, and Senate is also being productive. It just may not look that way on paper, but they have meetings every week and they are doing things.
Okay, now we're going to open up the floor for audience questions. So if any of you have any questions to direct to any of our candidates.
My question is for the guy on the right.
And look, you guys are both on executive council and you're the vice president. If you're not able to get students out to the games, that's just poor results. You guys are directly responsible for that. And before, when you were passing on blame to the senators, you were the vice president. You should take responsibility for that. I've been at internships before where if I blame someone else, you get fired. What kind of leader blames others? You should take the responsibility for that.
Mariana, I've just from that, I've worked with both of them for the games, and we have ideas, we share ideas. I just want to know if you have any ideas where you can get seniors from the beach to the games.
Right, and that's just creating incentives for the seniors. I think constant transportation from the beach to the Webster Bank Arena. I think it needs to be constant, and as I mentioned with my revenue generating opportunities, that is a perfect way that we can raise money so we can fund a bus from the beach to Webster Bank Arena.
We already have funds, we already have buses paid by from the school, and those buses are there every game, we just get 0 students in the buses, so we'd like anything else.
Right, and
We need ideas too.
Right, no, and I understand what you mean. And so that would require a more in-depth conversation with you, with other members of Stags Get Back, and with the seniors. Just go to them and say, why are you guys not going to the games? It's a simple question, just ask them why. And I think by working together, we would be able to come up with a solution.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm just wondering how you guys are going to try to make FUSA less of a clique, and so people, like you said, Senate chair doesn't want to get out of Senate, and to actually keep FUSA together instead of it just feeling like people that just are all friends, and try to make it more inclusive.
I'll take it. Okay, so with the Senate chair, Sam resigned for personal reasons. It wasn't because FUSA was a clique. It was also because he had an internship that could lead to a job. So I don't know anyone in this room that would give up a job for that, like when in that position. But also, I do not believe that FUSA is a clique. Every single one of us is involved in other things out here. It takes someone to want to be a part of the organization and try and become friends with them and with other people in the organization in order to create a family. There's a lot of different groups on this campus that are families. I think FUSA is one of them, but we're accepting and opening to anyone.
See, I refuse to accept the cliques and the social barriers. You know, I don't really know what occurred with Sam, but I can assure you that if elected president, my chair of Senate will stay for the entire year.
Okay, I would tend to agree with Lindsay in that I do not believe FUSA is a clique at all. As Lindsay mentioned, I believe it's one of the bigger families or teams on campus, and any team or family that you work with, day in and day out, you're going to have a bond with. And this team is very, very close, and we also are very welcoming. We're involved in many other areas, but FUSA is our top priority. So we do get to, we argue a lot. Not a lot, we argue some, but we also get along a lot and work hard to accomplish things. So in no way do I believe FUSA is a clique.
Mariano, with all due respect, I think that a lot of the FUSA members in this audience can say that you've insulted us and our work that we've done this semester and last semester. And so how are you going to work with us next semester if you are elected president?
Absolutely, and I do apologize if I did insult you. That was not my intention. But for me, the first thing is establishing relationships. So first off, establishing a relationship with you, with other FUSA members, with administration, because I need to establish trust. Without trust, there's no relationships, and we can't build a community that way. So if I did insult you, I am sorry. I'm only pointing out the inefficiencies, perhaps flaws in FUSA, and flaws which I hope to mend with the experience I've had.
Hi, so I have a question for Alex. I'm one of the event chairs of Relay for Life, so I work kind of with some other cancer clubs on campus. So I was just wondering, you mentioned that you were part of Cancer Crushers, so I was wondering your role and any initiatives that the club has taken this semester or last semester.
Sure. One of my good friends is the vice president of Cancer Crushers, so he got me into it originally at the beginning of this year, was not a member last year. This has just been my first year as a general committee member. I've been more of a sounding board for them in trying to plan events and that it takes some time to plan different things. I participated in the dodgeball tournament that they just sponsored along with FUSA, and that was not the best attendance, but it's definitely room for growth. But it's been great for me to see the other side of just being a general member of a club and not necessarily being in charge and having to worry about planning an event, but also being there if they need answers to their questions.
I have two questions. The second question is for all three of you. The first question is specifically for Mariano. Just a question. You spoke about only 2 pieces of legislation being passed in the Senate. Did you ever ask to proxy or sit in on a Senate meeting this year?
Yes, I did. I actually sat in on a Senate meeting with my good friend Arturo Watts. We came in for a Senate meeting. I got to see, how the process goes. I watched Sam lead the Senate meeting, and was there for about 45 minutes to an hour.
Okay, thank you. The next question. This was about attendance at basketball games. I was brought up by Stags in the Stands. Obviously, we're a mid-major, we're not a UConn, and our greatest attendance came from a game at St. Mohegan Sun against Louisville. Do you think perhaps that classmates aren't supporting kids on the team because there's maybe a disconnect between varsity athletes and the general population as opposed to saying transportation not being available when in actuality it is?
I'll take this first. So earlier this year when we were working with Stags in the Stands for the Sacred Heart game, I actually had a group project with one of the members on the basketball team, and I got to talking with him about how attendance should be increased at events, and we started talking about ways that the basketball team could be more involved in getting people to their game. After all, it is their game, and I think that that's something that we could work on. It's just if we have a way for the basketball players to create better relationships with the students, which I think a lot of them do have. Everyone I know on the team, they're great. But I think just while it is great, we just always work to improve it. So I think that's something that we could do.
I would agree with everything Lindsay just said. I think the basketball team is one of the friendlier teams on campus and are very well known. But with any Division I commitment, it's hard getting athletes to come out and do something extra and actually try to get fans to their events. So there's got to be some balance that we look at, not just with basketball, but with all sports. One of my housemates is on the swim team. I don't think there's fans that go to those the meets, so we try to support them when we can. But all the sports on campus are important, but we definitely should support our major teams.
All right, thank you.
I agree with both Alex and honest, I think that the basketball team is very open, is very friendly to all students here on campus, but just increasing accessibility to the basketball team. And one of the things we could do is bring the basketball team back to campus. Now, basketball games haven't been played at campus in a while, but if you remember last year, there was a game in Manhattan where they played at Alumni Hall, and we packed Alumni Hall, and I mean, we got killed by Manhattan, but still, it was an awesome time. And having the basketball games on campus would benefit students so much more. So, I mean, if it's possible, I would love to pursue that, but that's something that would definitely need to be looked into further.
This question's for Mariano. You talked quite a bit about how you have like a financial monetary bend to what you want to do with FUSA. Do you think it'd be an idiosyncrasy to put that much emphasis on making money for FUSA when the money merely only helps FUSA out and it's not a business? And the second part of the question is, how do you plan on making all these funds and raising them to do what you need to do?
Sure, and that would require, I would definitely need to sit down with the treasurer, and I would need to make a good decision on who I would want my treasurer to be. So now I can't specifically give you an answer on what I would do, because that would require more speaking with both FUSA, COSO, administrators, and the treasurer. But I would definitely make efforts to make as much money as possible in order to fund the events we'd like to have. Maybe fund like a bigger concert, whether it's fall concert or spring concert. So that's what I would go for.
Do the three of you work with large student organizations on campus, particularly SPLD and Residence Life, in improving those relationships and creating a positive dynamic and experience for students on campus?
Spence, did you say how do you plan on it?
Yeah.
I think for me, I've had some experience with this year. In doing senior week, I've started to establish a relationship with Kamala. In Residence Life, that's definitely been a major point of, it's been conflict this year, especially up at the townhouses. But in conversations with Ophelia and Nikita and discussing with the RAs and ACs, they're very open to criticism and are willing to give you feedback. And I think a lot of times people are just willing to criticize when they don't hear the other side. And when you do get a chance to discuss with them, you really do understand how they can get frustrated sometimes. But I think, again, taking down that barrier and letting RAs and ACs and staff in Residence Life really voice their opinion about what they see in their side of the story would really be a beneficial to mending that relationship.
In regards with SPLD, we've been working with
Plenty of student feedback.
So particularly for Mariano, I wasn't sure if you knew about new student leader programs and what they do for the freshmen, but freshmen already have a ton of events and things that they are required to do, and that strive to build a community for them already. So those events that you're talking about that you want them to go to, how are you going to get them to go? Because from having this experience this year, I really don't think that that's possible, and I don't think that freshmen would be willing to do that. So what types of incentives would you be providing them?
Right, and I think it's all about creating relationships between upperclassmen and underclassmen. Because if we can have mentors who truly care about the underclassmen and who want them, oh, come with me to this event, or like instead of having meetings in like classrooms, like let's meet like in the Stag, or like let's meet in Barone, or having events where both underclassmen and upperclassmen are going, like it's the cool thing to do. That's what I would ideally want to do. So it's not only the underclassmen, but it's definitely the upperclassmen. Like, how can we build those relationships with the underclassmen? How can we establish that trust?
Hello.
What's up?
As the three of you know, I'm running for senior class senator, Coach Lynch. One of the things that I want to like get across is that the school has so many like amazingly cool people come and give talks here, but like they let us know like an email which we'll just open and then close just to get rid of it. Like for example, the John Scully, the former CEO of Apple, is coming, and I don't know if everyone knows that, but that's pretty amazing. And I want to know where you guys stand on like trying to get like student attendance up at events like that.
Yeah, see, I think that's one of the biggest challenges coming in. Like you said, like I've received emails before, and having not been in FUSA, I don't have firsthand knowledge of sort of like some of the events that are going on campus. So for me, that is the challenge. How are we going to do that? And I think that through social media, through improved social media presence, like that might be a way to incentivize students to do that, as well as giveaways, raffles, and just plain old just going to people and saying, hey, like there's this cool event coming, John Scully's coming, and like you said, he's a very well-known guy. I think direct relationships and just direct conversations are the best method of marketing, and so that's what I do with it.
I can speak from the programming standpoint about getting people to our own events, and one thing that we've stressed since the beginning of this year with our marketers is thinking outside the box and not just going with your average digital display, your poster, your email, this and that, thinking of more creative ways to market those events. So I know that we've been asked in the past to co-sponsor events at the Quick Center, so I think that we could talk to the people in charge of the Quick Center and help them have our programming marketers and our marketing branch all around on FUSA work to think of other creative ways, like having things on the tables in Barone and just other creative marketing tactics.
First of all, I think you'll be a great senator if elected. But again, the Quick Center especially has a lot of outstanding speakers that are sometimes unnoticed. And as Lindsay and Mariano both said, the method at which we market, especially social media, but in discussions that we've had this year with the marketing board and Lindsay and Janice as well, active marketing is such a huge role, and giving people incentive to go to these things is so easy that we just need to organize our thoughts and really get our act together on that. As far as even like a hashtag, tweet at us, like this is the event that's going on, like receive this prize, tweet us your seats, little things like that that can really improve attendance at those events.
My question, it's kind of loud. My question is for Lindsay. So I know earlier we talked a lot about Senate and how there's possibly a lack of energy there, even though they do work really hard, and I know firsthand that they're working really hard, but possibly a lack of energy. And I know the new Constitution was just passed, but and that's definitely a big step. But with your lack of Senate experience, do you think that's going to be a problem with you trying to, get the senators amped up and really ready to go?
I do not think so at all. I think, as my programmers know, I probably have the most energy at our meetings, and I think that all it takes is just putting ideas in their head and working with them, talking with the leaders on Senate currently, and all the senators in general. I think that they're doing a great job, that even if they haven't passed as many resolutions, they're still working towards them, and I think that I can just continue to talk to them and be a resource for them and also an advocate and help them out with the Senate resolutions that they need to be passed.
Okay, this question is for Alex. Obviously, you're campaigning with an ETH, even though these are, separate elections. What you do have working for you is a transition. As you were vice president this year, you saw everything Alex did, and the same was of an ETH in seeing you. Could you kind of specifically elaborate on how this would help you out?
Sure. I think as soon as I was elected vice president, and there was not really a transition period between myself and the previous vice president, so I kind of had to learn the ropes on my own this summer. But through the Constitutional Convention, as well as through my own personal experiences, we got to revamp the position as a whole and make it more defined, or make it a more defined role as to what the vice president is supposed to do. I think, looking back on it now, myself and Alex went in with zero exec experience, and it did hinder me a little bit in my ability to be an effective vice president. It took some time for me to really get into my role. But now, looking at it now, if elected and being able to mentor an ETH and what worked for me and what didn't, I think it would be a great benefit to FUSA and the student body as a whole.
Thanks.
2 more questions.
This is a question for all you guys. In one sentence, why should I vote for you?
You should vote for me because I have the dedication and the passion to make Fairfield a better place. I'm a good communicator. I'm here for people, and still and I just want to make Fairfield a better place.
When I got here, I did not particularly love Fairfield. Now that I am an upperclassman, I love Fairfield. I've loved my Fairfield experience, and I plan on and intend on making the school better than when I left it.
in one sentence, because I believe in the untapped potential of the Fairfield student body.
Any last questions?
I have a question for our candidates. Please describe the style of leadership that you plan to practice and how you are going to invest in developing the students that are going to lead within the organization that you may be running.
For me, anyone who knows me knows that I establish relationships early and I am an easy person to talk to. I believe because I am genuine in my relationship with anybody that is working with me as part of a team, that I do inspire them to also make change. Since I've been a member of FUSA, many of my friends have joined, not only FUSA but other organizations, because they want to make something out of their experience at Fairfield. I believe I can do that as president of the largest organization on campus and truly inspire the FUSA members and the student body as a whole to make their Fairfield experience the best it can.
As a leader, I think that I'm extremely energetic and I pass that energy off onto people that are below me. And I think that this gets people excited about what they're doing. And I think that we could further develop the student leaders at this school by doing different activities to bring us all together, and also doing like what we did last week with Tyler with Strengths Quest, knowing what you're good at and how that can improve upon what you're doing at the school to make it a better place.
I think that sticking to your strengths is very important, and as a leader I am very passionate. I get very invested in the people I work with, and I originally started out in Student Phone-a-thon, and it's very much a culture of support. It's very much a culture of acceptance, and for me it's all about supporting others, accepting them for who they are, and inspiring them to stick to their strengths and achieve everything that they can do.
Okay, guys, I just want to wrap up with one final question. So, political campaigns obviously are competitive in nature, but I personally am a huge fan of camaraderie. So I would like to know what leadership qualities you see in each of your fellow candidates that you admire.
For Mariano, first of all, coming in with a fresh perspective, definitely a driven, well-spoken leader who would clearly be a great president. Is definitely given my respect. We didn't really know each other previously, and in conversation we do share a lot of the same goals, and regardless of who wins the election, I believe we plan to work with each other to accomplish a lot of the same goals next year. For Lindsay, I've worked with Lindsay a great deal. Lindsay and I have actually become very close along with Janice this year, and it's really been a privilege working as part of the team with them, and they've taught me a lot. Lindsay has taught me a great deal about the programming aspect of FUSA, but is very organized, very passionate about everything she does, and certainly brings energy to anything she does as well.
That was really nice, Alex. For Lindsay, I've only known Lindsay since the beginning of the semester, and we're in the same comparative politics class together. And it's funny because you're like so quiet, but like you're so energetic. Like you gotta let that out more often. And you can tell that she's committed. You can tell that she's rehearsed. You can tell that she really wants it. And I think sometimes, Lindsay, you sell yourself short because everyone here can see what potential you have. And it's truly incredible and it's truly inspiring. Alex, as Alex mentioned, we've also known each other for not too long, but he is very articulate. He has been captain of the rugby team, so you can see that he is a great leader. He is a great motivator, and he's inspiring. And we share a lot of the same goals. And I think that no matter who ends up getting elected, that these two people they're awesome people, and FUSA will be in good hands next year.
Mariano, like he said, we just met each other at the beginning of the semester, and I didn't know at first that he was planning on running for FUSA president. And when I found out, the first thing that I kind of freaked out about was that he had given a presentation in our class, and I think that he's a wonderful public speaker. He really composes himself really well. I'm extremely impressed that he decided to step up and take on running against both Alex and myself, because that is definitely a big thing to do. So I think just that his drive and passion for making Fairfield a better place is amazing.